Good evening. Welcome to the 2026 World Juniors post-game show here on GPL. Vigs, they faced Switzerland tonight, and it was quite the interesting game. Switzerland knows how to lock it down, don't they?
Yeah, Monsko was talking about the Swiss, in some of their other world tournaments, a lot of 1-0 type games, real low scoring. Chances were probably at a premium tonight, and it was just a challenging game, I think, for the U.S. to battle through after a game against Germany where there was a lot more space on the ice.
So a 2-1 final, but at the top of the show here, let's talk about it right away here. Cole Hudson in the second period takes a shot to what looks like right off the back of the neck, just below the helmet, and he's stretchered off. But we're hearing he left the hospital already, and you said he showered with his team, so it's looking good there.
Yep. So he showered here at Grand Casino, and he's off to have dinner with the team. The U.S. will skate tomorrow from 12 to 1, and they'll evaluate him probably tomorrow and see what they'll do going forward. Good signs that he's up, moving around. I think, when you take something to the top of the neck, probably like in the spine, puck, and things just get kind of numb, you want to be as cautious as you can. I think, this training staff, is putting the players' health first and just being cautious. It's early in the tournament. And so he was taken to the hospital. They immobilized him, got evaluated. And the fact that he's released and is back with his teammates now is a great sign for Cole and for USA Hockey.
Yeah, because it was you could hear it on TV and you could hear it at the arena. It was deathly quiet in the arena when Cole went down.
Yeah, it was very eerie here. You've got so many fans. During the game they've been loud with the USA chants and really into the game, and it was just eerily quiet here for a long time. I think it was hard for the U.S. to kind of get back into it, and then when the Swiss got their goal, you just kind of had this kind of uneasy queasiness feeling. And, USA was probably lucky to get another goal and take the lead and then be able to hold on tonight.
Just updating the score there. Looks like Czechia just took a 3-1 lead. So I was just updating that there. So let's talk about the game. Big, obviously very defensive game, Viggs, but, our guy, Brody Zemer, kind of let off the scoring here. Let's take a look.
Attack again. Puck comes free in the slot, dropped off for Zemer, and he shoots, and he scores! Brody Zemer!
So our guy, Brody Zemer, gets the team going tonight, gets them up 1-0 on a shot right off the very top pipe and into the net.
Yeah, Bardowski is what you like to see from Zemer there. We heard from James Higgins after the game that he just could hear Zemer just screaming for the puck. And he's like, I'm pretty sure that was Brody calling for it. And he's like, I hope so, because he gave it to him kind of blindly here. And just an absolute rocket from Zemer. The Swiss goalie never really saw it coming. Very important goal for the U.S. tonight.
And it turns out he ended up being the U.S. player of the game.
Yep, Captain Zemer, player of the game. I think, just for this goal, and also I think his leadership on the bench tonight. As we talked to USA players after the game tonight, they all said Brody was the guy on the bench who was being vocal and telling the guys, hey, let's get in this game. Cole wants us to play hard. We got to pay attention to detail. This is going to be a tough game. It's an important stretch for us. Let's just 5 minutes at a time and get through it.
In the meantime, the Swiss team tied it up. Then the Cole Hudson injury happened. It was dead in the arena, but Zellers comes back in and makes another big play, Viggs.
Puck bounces free. McKinney with it. Gets it over to the left side. Zellers with a shot, and it bounces in! Will Zellers!
That was quite the goal, Viggs. He snuck it in there somehow, didn't he?
Yeah, he said he's got one of those, shooter snipers at home, sniper's edge, and he shoots, 10,000 pucks a summer. Getting that shot. And, when you see that goalie go in that RVH and they give away that top corner, there's not very much room to shoot, but he certainly picked it and took advantage of this, it's a crutch, I think, of goalies. As they see pucks start to get below the dots, they think they can just cover the net there. When you've got a shooter like Zellers, you got to stay on your feet, I think.
Oh, it looks like it went off. Did it go off the pipe and hit the goalie in the back or something like that? It was something close like that's hard to see from that angle. But Zeller's third goal of the tournament. He's looking really good. A nice late addition, isn't he?
Yeah, last addition to the lineup for USA Hockey. Motzko said Zellers is impressing at UND. He's got a great stick, great shot, and they felt like they needed to add that to their roster, and he's certainly rewarding them. Brad Schlossman was here to see part of the game tonight, and I think he should get a residual check for all of his comments about how Zellers should be in the camp and make a name for himself with the roster.
Well, maybe it's time to go out and have a drink with Schloss there, huh, Viggs?
Yeah, one of these nights. So
I've got the scores going along the bottom along with the update on Cole Hudson. Slovakia takes out Germany 4-1. That game was closer than thought it would be. I mean, Germany played them well. Canada 2-1 in overtime over Latvia. Latvia has been all over them recently, Viggs.
Yeah, I think they've taken points from Canada before in preliminary round play. Canada is struggling. I'm hearing a lot of chatter from people in the media that Canada's team is not playing very cohesive. They've got some holes to their game that they're going to have to figure out. There's a lot of eyes on Hockey Canada every year, and they've really struggled the last couple of years, losing out in the quarters and having a hard time putting together a team.
Well, I would say this tournament has been different. We've had close games. We had Sweden yesterday in a close game, which I didn't think it'd be that close. Latvia playing them strong. Even Canada last night, it was a little gamey for them. So it's been a good tournament so far.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit more parity than people expected. I will say that the top nations that are traditionally the hockey powers, I think, are struggling to put together their teams for this tournament and find some continuity. There's just a little bit of nerviness with, Canada and US and even Sweden a little bit. Finland's been a hard team lately to play against, and I'm starting to wonder if Finland's kind of that dark horse gold medal team. We'll see as the tournament progresses. And there's probably going to be upsets. You look at the Swiss team, you look at Latvia, you look at Czechia. Those teams have played some dangerous games so far. I think the U.S. is going to have a tough one here coming up with Slovakia as well.
Yes, and like I said, that game looks like it's still a 3-1 here. Oh, actually, it's not Slovakia. It's
Czechia, right?
Czechia, Slovakia. Czechoslovakia. I think I still have that in my head, from the old days. So Team USA is off tomorrow. Quite a few teams off tomorrow, but so there's just 2 games tomorrow in the afternoon. We've got Sweden playing Switzerland at where you're at right now at the Grand Casino Arena, and then Finland, Latvia over there at Mariucci. So a little bit quieter day tomorrow.
Yep, U.S. will skate noon to 1 tomorrow. I think there'll be a lot of eyes on Team USA to see what the status is with Cole Hudson. If it was just precautionary tonight and he's up moving around, do they let him skate even tomorrow? He's such an important player for this team.
Gosh.
I think, defensively, you look at the U.S. roster, there's not a lot of high-end offensive players. I talked to Adam Kleber after the game. What's the message on the bench when you lose, kind of your most skilled defensive player? And he said, it's don't take chances. Stick to your detail. Get the pucks to the forwards. Don't jump up in the rush unless it's clear green light. It's a very cautious messaging, I think, from the coaching staff because they know, this team without Cole Hudson is going to have to lean on their forwards to get it done. And we saw tonight the 2 goals, quick transition, pretty much all forward based to get those goals.
So then we look at the setup on Monday. We've got Germany playing Sweden in the first game there at Grand Casino, and then Slovakia against the Americans, and we've got Finland against Czechia. Oh, that's a nice afternoon game there at Mariucci, and Canada versus Denmark, the late game. Talk to us about Monday. What are you looking forward to besides the U.S.?
I think that Finland game and see what they've got. I think if they are going to be a dark horse, that's a game to watch. I think the Finns have a lot of talent as well. Tickets are readily available to go see games at Mariucci. I don't think attendance has been quite
the Canadians haven't shown up. Whether
Canadians
it's trouble getting in here, whether it's hating America or not, I don't know. I don't care. But the Canadians haven't shown up like they usually would be. They just haven't.
Yeah. But, as Gentle Giant Jason is saying here, New Year's Eve is the big night here for the tournament. So
it will.
I'm really looking forward to that lineup.
Definitely going to be fun, Vigs. Any other observations?
I think the power play has been something that the U.S. needs to figure out. I asked Bob about that today, and he's like, well, the way the power play is played, it's going to give us something to do tomorrow on their off day. It's really something that I think they need to focus on. They're just kind of playing a little slow, and it's slow on winning back loose pucks. It's slow on getting plays going. It's maybe a little too methodical, deciding whether or not to shoot. Bob said, maybe this is going to turn into a chaos power play where we're trying to get pucks to the net and trying to get traffic and trying to get rebounds. And I think when you've got a power play that's struggling, getting pressure on the goalie is a good way to jumpstart it because they've got plenty of talent, especially up front. The 8 forwards that they're putting on the power play, all very talented players. They just need to find a little bit of rhythm and confidence.
Talk to me about Kemp tonight.
I thought he played very well in goal. I thought he was aggressive at the top of his crease. I thought when there were pucks for him to go play, he was able to go get the puck and help his defense out a little bit more. And he made some big saves without a lot of work tonight. The shots here at the arena were a little slow to display, so I don't know exactly.
It was the official stats too. I think the TV was more accurate than the arena because it wasn't up there. It was like 14-9 for the longest time in the third. I'm like, I knew it started that way, but
yeah, I'll be interested to see like how many shots attempted there were tonight. At least for the U.S., it seemed like they had a lot of shot attempts that went wide. And that's, a factor of, the Swiss clogging up the middle and having a lot of traffic. It was almost like they played a box and one, diamond and one for most of the game, taken away. It reminded me of like the old WCHA days when Alaska would come to town and just basically sit back and play defense and then try to counterattack. It almost was like a CONCACAF soccer game style. So interesting game there.
And then LJ Mooney, are we going to see him taking a lot more face-offs for the Gophers when he comes back? Because he was taking the face-offs, when Switzerland had pulled their goaltender.
Yeah, I talked to LJ about face-off, and he said that's something he works really hard on in the summer, and he's excited to get to do it now, college and at the World Junior. Bob's trusting him to take big draws on the power play late in the game here at the goalie pull for the Swiss, and he's delivering. One of the faceoffs he won, right back to the D. U.S. didn't clear the zone, but they had the opportunity to.
And yeah, he did hit a pipe tonight. He's starting to get into it. Well, I'm kind of excited to see where he goes here. He's just missing a couple opportunities.
I think all the U.S. players are putting a little bit of pressure on themselves. We saw a couple plays tonight where guys were just a little bit off on executing the chances that they did have. But LJ's impressed me with his compete again, as always. For a small guy, Little John, he is out there competing and battling for pucks, which is what you need to do in this tournament.
And he looks so young out there. When I saw him next to Plant on the bench, I'm like, these guys look like they're 12 or 13 years old. When I was talking to Barb while we were watching the game tonight, so young.
Yeah, I was sitting next to Tony Scott tonight up here in the press box, and we both just laughed at each other when they showed the camera of those two on the bench. It's like, those are just a couple of young kids that look like they're almost Bantams, out here on the big stage.
I look forward to see what they do next. So, well, that's pretty much it, Vigs. We'll be back here on, Monday night? Monday night, big tilt here as the tournament goes on. We'll know a little bit more about Cole Hudson hopefully tomorrow. It's a big question mark for USA Hockey. He's such an important player for this team. He's 1 point away from tying Eric Johnson's scoring record for a defenseman at the World Juniors. So I think we'll see him back. Obviously, anyone with USA Hockey doesn't want to get on the record too much with things, but the fact that he's back with the team, that's huge. It is huge. Well, you have any other thoughts, Vigs? We good to go? I encourage people, if you're in the area and you've got the time, it's fun hockey to watch. I think this tournament's only going to get better as the days pass. I had to do some TV shuffling today because I thought NHL Network was covering them all, and then if someone was only on TSN or ESPN Plus, I'm like, you'd talked about it on Twitter, like ESPN should just be covering all of this because NHL Network, a lot of people don't get it. I don't get it on YouTube TV. Do you get it on Fubo?
I get it on Fubo, and I can't believe they didn't have the Canada game on today, which just it just baffles me.
Yeah,
You have this big event, and you can't get that game on TV. You're
And
just
then
forcing people to pirate stream.
I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, Denmark got within 2. It's 3-2 now, so it's 3-2. Czechia and Denmark, so that's good. All right. Well, if we got anything else, I guess we'll see you on Monday night, huh, Viggs?
Sounds good.
All right, folks.